Part 94. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 934. 933 Li Alogo Qingxi Town. The three brothers in the family thought of Huangye Along for the first time, and the fleeing old man also thought of Huangye Along for the first time, so the old man hurried to Huangye Along's direction to see what was happening on his side. When the old man arrived, Huangye Along was still deadlocked with his daughter. Now that the old man is back, Huangye Along is a bit strange, and quickly asked the voice, "What's wrong, old man?" "Run." All ran. "I don't know when I ran," said the old man resentfully. Huangye Along suddenly turned his face and said, looking for the old, "We are no longer friends for a day or two. Huang just wants to take one of the treasures, you are not willing to give it." The old man knew that he had misunderstood that he and the three Legia brothers shared the treasures privately, and smiled bitterly. "Lao Huang, he really ran away, causing the three leopards to think we were playing them, and he was still chasing me." Although lying down, Cao Junfen was restrained, but his words were not affected. He could not hear the voices of Huangye Along and the old man, but he knew what was going on in their expressions. "Ha ha, you are so stupid, tell you, they were gone when I was out. You idiots, you laughed at me." Huangye Along sneered at him and yelled, "Last name Cao. Don't think my daughter will protect you, I dare not kill you," he said, taking a step forward. He really wanted to kill Cao Junfen right now. But the old man blinked yellow and blinked, holding Huangye Along. "Lao Huang, this son cannot be killed for the time being." "Why?" Huangye Along stopped asking. The old man said, "The two people who fled this time will definitely look for masters in the clan to seek revenge. If we kill this son, when the masters come, it will be the day you and I are buried." "Oh, still looking for old thoughts?" Huangye Along nodded and said, "As long as we are here, things will be much easier. They want to kill us, they must cast a ratchet, and we will have the capital to negotiate at that time. The crisis may be resolved." The old man nodded, looked at the storage bag in Huangye Along's hand, and said, "You should keep this storage bag well. If you lose it, maybe it will come in handy." The old man and Huangye Along are both timid. Now that the bad things have not been done, they are already afraid. If they want to reconcile, even Cao Junfen's storage bag is afraid to open. However, Huangye Along frowned again, looking for the old, "But this kid is not tame, if I release him, I am afraid he will run away immediately. But if I draw his blood to make the blood oath card, I am afraid I will be criticized in the future. How is this good?" The old man with a smile laughed, "Anyway, I have a heavenly treasure called Ding Yuan Cao, which is used by the confused mind to stabilize Yuan Shen. However, if this substance is overdose, it will have side effects and make Yuan Shen unable move, and because of this, Yuan Shen cannot control the spiritual power in the body, so he becomes a mortal one." Huangye Along said joyfully, "There are many ways to find old people. I have known Ding Yuan Ko for a long time, but I didn't expect that overdose would still have this effect. But if I want to lift it, how do I do it?" The old man said, "You don't have to worry about these. There are no other side effects under this Ding Yuan straw suit, and as long as you don't continue to take it for a month, he can immediately repair it." Huangye Along said, "If nothing happens, I only need to give him once a month, will it be all right?" The old man nodded and said, "Exactly." One day 3 months later, Qingxi Town. This is a small town not far from Huishan village. It is very busy because it has a teleportation array to Heilongqing. However, walking between people is basically dominated by monsters, and humans are very rare. On this day, the rainstorm was pouring, and the roads in Qingxi Town were sparsely populated. Even the beast monsters were unwilling to go out in this weather. But in the torrential rain, a man in a black cape walked up. Although wrapped in a black cloak, you can tell that this is a woman by looking at her height and steps. The woman in the black cloak crossed the street, and finally came to a dilapidated wooden door in a back street and pushed in. This is a very rudimentary small courtyard, where water is everywhere from the heavy rain, and it flows. The black cape walked quickly into a small house on the side of the courtyard. Compared with the outside, the room is very clean and tidy, a slightly worn small square table, 2 benches, a simple moonlight lamp stand on the table. Entering into the room, the black cloak was tilted, and the wet cloak was thrown aside, revealing a peachy face under the cloak. This is Cao Mose, who was not seen in March. Hearing the movement outside, an ant with a turban came out of the inner room. The ant with the turban was not high-rise, didn't even have a foundation, and there were very few body-shaped parts. Although she walked upright, her head and limbs they are all hairy, so they look very ugly and weird. However, Cao Muse knew that this sheep-headed monster was kind-hearted. If she had not encountered this sheep-headed monster, her life would be more difficult now. Of course, the ant shepherd did not accept her in vain, and Cao Mose also gave her a lot of spiritual stones. However, in such an unfamiliar place, others don't want to hurt you, don't want to rob you, it's just fine to collect some rent from you fairly. The goblin came out and asked, "How's it? Did you hear anything today?" Cao Mose nodded, "I have some eyebrows, but, who knows," Cao Mose said, and sighed. "In the past 3 months, I have thought of a lot of methods, and I have found my elixir. Less, but just not effective." After Cao Muse said, he looked at the back room again and asked, "Is he all right?" The ogre also sighed and said, "It's not like that. What can happen is really bitter you. Your man found you, but it's really blessed." Cao Muse blushed and didn't know how to say it. She took a moment and quickly took out a few scattered spirit stones and shoved them to the sheep-head demon, saying, "Ma'am, please. In the flood, the most valuable thing is the water of transformation, followed by the spirit stone. There is no spirit stone mine here, all the spirit stones are passed in from outside, so by comparison, the price index here is much lower, and these few stones are very happy for the sheep-head monster. You're welcome." Although the sheep-head shook off, he quickly accepted the spirit stone. She put away the spirit stone and said, "Then I'll go back to my house, and you'll be busy." When the goblin departed, he was still chanting, "It's a bitter girl, you don't know when the kid will be fine." The gaucho is true. Since the day when he escaped from the balding mountain with the help of a turtle shell, Cao Muse hugged Yekong to Qingxi City. Yekong's situation is very strange. His vitality is still normal and his body is normal, but he has no consciousness and never wakes up again. In the present words, it is the same as a vegetative. Cao Muse didn't know what was going on. She put her into Yekong's body, but she was very fierce and crazy, and her cultivation not only failed to destroy the blood, but she could be herself also stuck in a quagmire. However, she is not familiar with life here. How can there be a powerful senior monk to help her? Moreover, there are very few humans here, and there are even fewer beautiful human women. Cao Mose will be watched everywhere. Among them, the male demon Jiu 11 looks at her with evil eyes, so it is very difficult to do something. Fortunately, the climate in Qingxi town is not very good, and there are heavy rains in every place. Therefore, Cao Muse can also take advantage of the rain, put on a black cape, participate in some trade fairs, and find some elixir for detoxification and stability. However, it took a lot of lingxi and a lot of elixir to feed, but Yekong didn't react at all, which made Cao Muse very annoyed. She also wanted to go to Black Dragon City. There should be more human monks and more methods. But when she approached the teleportation team that day, she happened to see the 3 leopard brothers there, and she seemed to be familiar with the guards of the teleportation team, so she dismissed the idea of going to the Black Dragon City. She wanted to take Yekong back to Kangnan, but she had to give up thinking of that bite worm. So I had to stay in Qingxi town, hoping to find a way here. Today, she once again participated in a trade fair for the Huaidan period monster demon repair. At the meeting, she used 100 spirit stones to find a way. It is said that there is a dangerous place not far from the other side of Qingxi town. If you go there, you will get a spiritual fluid called Emperor Liujiang. This spirit is very magical. It is said that its function is to solve all abnormal conditions. In other words, no matter if you are poisoned or injured, or if you go into trouble, you can be cured in one go. Cao Muse went into the inner room, sitting by the bed, looking at Yekong lying down. She could not help but strengthen her convictions. No matter how dangerous, she must get that Emperor's slurry. The next day, Cao Mose came out early. This time, she knew that she would be back for a while, so she left a lot of spirit stones and elixir. Please ask Auntie Sheep to help take care of Yekong. Then, Cao Muse embarked on the road to find Emperor Liujiang. Do not talk about Cao Mose, say the sheep-head demon. Although Aunt Sheep has always been very kind, but a kind person will also have greed, not to mention, is it a sheep who has never been to school? Looking at a handful of spirit stones and a few big bottles of elixir, Aunt Yang's eyes flickered. The spirit stone is naturally taken down, but elixir, obviously, the value of so many elixir is still above the elixir. Aunt Sheep has never been to school, but she still knows arithmetic slightly. If the big bottles of elixir in her hand are sold out, she can immediately become a wealthy household. When she buys a big bottle of water, she can also lose her hair. Maybe she can build a foundation. However, Aunt Yang looked at Yekong lying down again, and was afraid that the boy had a length of 3 and a length of 2. Cao Muse came back and asked her to die, so she had a hard time choosing. Aunt Yang really didn't have enough brains. Sitting on the bed and pondering for a whole day, she didn't think about it. To the reader, there is one more chapter, which will be published later. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 935. Are you greedy for these elixir? Aunt Yang suddenly found that she had not eaten for a day and was a little hungry. She put the elixir in a storage bag and went out to eat. In fact, it was the storage bag around her waist, which was also given by Cao Mose. Such a low-level sheep demon like her was very, very poor. But even so, who can remember these small favors before the huge temptation? Not to mention sheep demon, human monks, most of them are irresistible. Aunt Yang ate some grass and came back. At this moment, her IQ increased significantly. She muttered, I didn't give him elixir today, is he all right? Aunt Yang finally made up her mind and nodded, still giving the elixir. If this kid is okay, I will feed him back. If he is fine, if he is ill, I will run away. She made up her mind, and regardless of Yekong, hurriedly went out to sell elixir. At this time, the sky was already very dark. In a small side town like Qingxi town, it was very boring at night. All the shops were closed and the houses were dark. Of course, she has never been to the psychiatric drugstores or pawn shops in the town, and dare not go. She is not going out to the store now, but to find a friend to help sell this batch of elixir. Aunt Yang's friend is called Brother Ma. This brother is also a low-level demon monk. He is pretty good. I heard that there are some friends outside and I know a lot of seniors who build bases, so Aunt Yang thinks that looking for Brother Ma can be wrong. After walking for a while, he finally came to Brother Ma. Oh, it's Sheep Sister, come in quickly. Brother Ma knew that a human monk who had a dandelion lived in Aunt Yang's house, and knew that Aunt Yang had made a lot of money recently, looking at the storage bag hanging on Aunt Yang's waist. Brother Ma's eyes are very hot. The storage bag is so beautiful. Brother Ma swallowed. These demon repairs are indeed poor enough, a storage bag can make them envy for several days. Aunt Shemp proudly displayed and smiled, Senior Jadan rewarded. Brother Ma sighed, why didn't I have such good luck, and there was a Senior Dan who lived in my house. Aunt Yang laughed, who told you this is so messy? Is there a Senior Dan who comes after cleaning? Well, it's all chance. Brother Ma sighed and asked, Sister Yang, do you come to me so late, is there something wrong? Of course I do. Aunt Yang sat down and told the original thing to Brother Ma. Brother Ma was startled and asked quickly, Sister Yang, don't hurt me. If the Senior Jadan came back and knew that I had sold you medicine, wouldn't she take my life? Aunt Sheep laughed, relax, no one knows I'm here. No one knows, that's good. Brother Ma is overjoyed, since no one knows, don't blame me for being ruthless. Although I didn't do anything to kill and win treasure before, it doesn't mean I won't do it now. With these elixir, I can become more human and build foundation, and no one knows. Haha, chance, what is chance? This is chance. Let it go this time, and never have a chance again. Sister Yang, what kind of elixir is that? Let your brother take a look first, Brother Ma said. Aunt Yang took out a bottle of elixir, opened the stopper, and a strong scent of medicine overflowed. Brother Ma took the bottle, smelled it intoxicated, and sighed, it is really good elixir. I wonder how effective it is. Aunt Yang said, they are all good elixirs that nourish the Yuan Shen. I heard that the name is Runchendan. It has wonderful effects on those who are injured in the consciousness. Brother Ma nodded and said, it's not a solid one, it's not easy to sell. It must be sold to high-level monks who are wounded in consciousness, but this kind of person is hard to find. When Aunt Yang heard this, her face became sad. She was just the lowest level sheep demon. What insight could she have? Brother Ma bluffed her and said, otherwise, I'll be here with a senior who builds a base tomorrow. You might as well put down all the elixir. When that senior comes, I persuade him and sell him together. Aunt Sheep heard that she would leave all the elixir, and frowned, will I come again tomorrow? Brother Ma said angrily, the predecessors of Zuji are all high-ranking seniors. Do you want to see them? Do you think they are willing to meet you? Huh, who is my brother? You do'nt know. There are millions of spirit stones in front of me, and I didn't blink. I will covet your elixir? Brother Ma is right. He used to do coolies at the only spirit stone mine under the jurisdiction of Black Dragon City. Spirit stones have been seen a lot, but they are guarded by layers, stealing a chop and stealing two. Behead. Listening to people saying such things, Aunt Yang said quickly, brother, don't be angry, I can't believe others, but I can't believe you. I am not here to stay. I am just afraid that I won't sell for a good price. Brother Ma sneered coldly, how many spirit stones? I can't tell. But the foundation demon repair, but the little master of our town mayor's family, he has few other things, and the water of transformation is abundant. Yes. Aunt Yang was so happy that she quickly took out all the elixir, and finally left a lot of spirit stones, begging Brother Ma to give her more water of transformation no matter what. Aunt Yang went away with gratitude, and then Brother Ma showed a greedy look and smiled proudly, stupid sheep, if I really know the little master of the mayor's family, do I still live in this kind of place? But then he thought again, no, this sheep aunt can't stay. If she tells the senior Danjadan that she lied to her elixir, no, kill. Must kill. But Brother Ma was unsuccessful, and he was courageous. He had never killed anyone in his life. He thought of killing Aunt Yang, and he was a little soft-footed. Then ask someone to help. Brother Ma is not far away from the house, there is a black dog demon. This black dog demon is this famous rogue. I heard that he has been a bandit and has a lot of blood on his hands. Everyone is afraid of him. Such things as killing people, of course, please get out of the black dog demon. The black dog demon was also refreshing. He accepted Brother Ma's spirit stone, and asked no reason, turned into the original shape, and chased Aunt Yang. This Qingxi town was originally a place for demon repairs, and there were no laws and regulations. The mayor of the town only cares for the wealthy households in the center of the town, and these half-human and half-monsters on the periphery are dead. Aunt Yang went back all the way, nervous and excited, feeling that she would build the foundation and become a master, but who knows what the benefits are not yet available. She is killed by the black dog demon behind him. Before she died, she didn't understand what was going on. The black dog demon killed Ant Sheep, grabbed Ant Sheep's storage bag, and was pleasantly surprised to find that there are really a lot of spirit stones in it. There are hundreds of them. This is astronomical to them. The black dog demon can't help whispering. Where can this Ant Sheep have so many spirit stones? Why did Brother Ma kill her? Generally speaking, bad guys have no morals to talk about, either humans or demons. The black dog demon got the spirit stone, raised the knife, and killed Brother Ma again. Brother Ma didn't expect to come to the door, so he had to say all that Mother Yang said. The black dog demon angered, "Damn, this matter still involved Senior Jidan? You killed me." Brother Ma smiled bitterly, "Brother, don't you say, I don't say, who knows?" The black dog demon yelled, "Senior God of the Dan through people, why wouldn't he know?" Brother Ma bitterly, "How is that good?" The black dog demon sneered coldly, "No, I have offended Senior Jidan. I'm going to run. You can give me some toll." Brother Ma then realized that the daring is that this guy wants benefits. Brother Ma had no choice but to say, "Wait a minute, then, I'll see how much deposit I have and I'll give it all to you." Brother Ma ran into the room and closed the door. Then he pulled a sack from the bed and took out the spirit stones that had just been cheated from Aunt Yang. However, he is still very happy, because those elixirs can be sold to the Fang Market or the Exchange Club in the future. By then, this will be a lot of income. But the black dog demon was not easy to meet. When he saw Brother Ma return to the house, he knew that this guy was in stock. He kicked the room door and walked in. He saw a few big bottles in the sack and the black dog demon raised his knife. Haha laughed, "It really is in stock, Brother Ma, thank you, I am a black dog today." Brother Ma saw the black dog demon rushed in, his face changed, and he had to push all the spirit stones and elixir in the past. But the black dog demon put away his stuff, and still sneered, "Brother Horse, since this matter is related to Senior Jidan, it is no wonder that I don't want to be chased down by Jidan's ancestors, so die." The black dog demon hit Brother Ma with a stab. Poor Aunt Lam and Brother Ma gave their lives for these elixir and spirit stone, and finally made wedding clothes for others and fell into the hands of the black dog demon. The black dog demon had no good end, and the matter was later known by the city defense captain of Qingxi town. By killing the people, the guy killed the black dog demon and seized the spirit stone and the elixir. Finally, he gave all the elixir to the master, to please the mayor's younger son. These elixirs went back and forth, and they really got into the hands of the mayor's younger son, but they were just wrong. These are off topic. Just say Yekong. In fact, Yekong entered a state of false death. The main reason is that Yuan Shen hid in the golden light of the curse encyclopedia. Yuan Shen has lost control of his body, and he is unwilling to let Jin Dan escape from the body, but confronts the blood sacrifice in Zifu. In fact, the blood maggots are not so powerful. After Cao Junfan used the blood maggots to break the soul, those blood maggots have already inspired all the energy. Without nourishment, these blood pupae will eventually die out. In other words, if Cao Muse hadn't taken Yekong a lot of Yang Yuan pills, Yekong would have been better. So Cao Muse is doing bad things with good intentions. The large amount of elixir she gave to Yekong every day was just the best thing to nourish the blood crickets. Those blood crickets were nourished and became more and more domineering. At this time, Cao Muse went to find Emperor Liujiang, and Ant Yang hung up again. Yekong didn't eat elixir every day, but it was a good thing for him. In this way, day after day, half a month passed, Yekong was left unattended, and he lay down for days and days. On this day, the blood pupa in Yekong's body was finally dying. Outside the gate, a loud noise, Cao Muse stumbled, her face was bloodless, her whole body was injured, and she returned. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 936. 935 Junfan's Plan. Mr. Cao, drink medicine with a clear call like a yellow warbler. Huang Yiping placed a restraint outside a flower field, not to mention Cao Junfan, who has become immortal, even when he had a practice so easy to break the ban. Outside of the ban, those colorful flower fields are also very complicated, so it is almost impossible for Cao Junfan to escape. Today is the time to drink medicine once a month. The so-called medicine is Dingyuan Cao. It must be taken regularly so that Cao Junfan can be restricted to the mortal realm. Huang Yiping held the herbal soup and felt that the smell was unpleasant. In fact, she didn't want Cao Junfan to drink it, but her father had to force Cao Junfan to drink it. And it is strange that after experiencing the initial resistance, brother Cao actually fell in love with this herbal medicine, from drinking once a month to drinking 3 times a month. If you don't give it to him, he's going to drink. This makes Huang Yiping difficult to understand. In fact, Huang Yaolong was also confused. Could this kid be mortal and addictive? Still stupid staying in the house all day? For this reason Huang Yaolong also specially asked the old man to come, and the old man gave Cao Junfan a diagnosis and treatment. Now the boy is normal, so he let him drink. Of course, Huang Yaolong didn't relax his vigilance. Every time he took the medicine, Huang Yaolong would release his consciousness and monitor Cao Junfan to see if he really drank it. Mr. Cao, I put the medicine outside the door. Huang Yiping knew that Cao Junfan didn't want to see himself, so he kept the medicine bowl outside the door every time. But this time, as soon as she crouched, she heard a creak from the door, and a pair of men's legs appeared. Mr. Cao. Seeing Cao Junfan opening the door, Huang Yiping was a little flustered, nervous, and happy, and, in a sense, the mixed feelings were. Ah, I spilled it. Cao Junfan rushed to grab the medicine bowl from Huang Yiping, and took a pity to see some spilled on the ground. Then he drank the herbs in the bowl with a sip. After drinking, Cao Junfan sighed, it's too hard to drink. Huang Yiping's heart is chaotic, and her heart says that you need to increase the amount of unpleasantness. I think you're happy drinking. However, she was still a little embarrassed. After all, she hadn't been in love and hadn't walked out. In front of her sweetheart, she was at a loss. Huang Yiping lowered her head and whispered, then I'll go back. However, Cao Junfan was also very unusual today, and laughed, Miss Yiping, why are you busy? Why don't you come and sit in the room? The naughty wants to talk to Miss Yiping. Talk about it. Huang Yiping was about to faint. I didn't know what kind of wind the boy was drawing. Before, the boy was reluctant to say a word to himself. Looking at Huang Yiping, Cao Junfan said angrily, why, Miss Yiping doesn't give face. Huang Yiping busily said, no, I'll come in. They walked into the room. This is a very simple hut. The demon repairs don't pay much attention to living conditions, so it is especially simple. Instead, a vase is placed on the table with a chestnut tree inside, which shows the owner's interest. Cao Junfan closed the door behind him and said, Miss Yiping, sit for a while, Cao digests this bowl of liquid medicine, and will come to talk with you later. Oh, Huang Yiping nodded a little, and sat aside in amusement. And Cao Junfen meditated cross-legged on the pu pad. To say that Cao Junfen took the initiative to drink those medicines, was he really crazy? Obviously not. This Ding Yuan grass has the function of stabilizing the Yuan Shen, but it can make Yuan Shen too stable if you take too much. Too solid, that's stiff, and dull. Cao Junfen is certainly not dull and dull. The actual reason is because he now has another hidden god. Obviously, this primordial spirit is the demon who competes with him for the body. The demon always needs to be attached to the Yuan Shen, just like the parasite. The host is dead, and the parasite does not live long. And most importantly, the demon cannot control the master's body alone. If the mind demon wants to take the master's body, then he needs to cultivate another primitive in the master's body. And this is the main reason that the bronze face lied to Cao Junfen to practice soul stealing. After practicing this method, a hidden elemental will be established in the body, controlled by the demon. This elementary will become more and more powerful, and finally swallow the master's elementary god. Controlled. The reason Cao Junfen drank a large amount of Ding Yuan herbal liquid is because, after he drank this herb, the hidden Yuan Shen became dull, and no longer hidden. Someone is doing bad things with good intentions, just like Cao Muse, and enduring hardships, and finally getting worse. On the side of Cao Junfen, Huang Yaolong did a bad job. Cao Junfen showed the hidden god, he was naturally overjoyed. This primordial is still very fragile. If he swallowed it with the main primordial god, it would be very beneficial to Cao Junfen's primordial god. However, Cao Junfen was also a daring boy. After thinking about it, he decided not to devour it for the time being, but continue to train. It was an extremely daring decision. It is very dangerous. If this Yuan Shen is strong in the future, it will be backbitten. However, Cao Junfen thought again and again, finally decided to take a risk. After all, if successful, the benefits are huge. The advantage is that in the future, Cao Junfen can easily cultivate an incarnation. Therefore, Cao Junfen decided to do the trick. The first step is to clear the demon first, to assimilate the hidden god, and put it under his control. Cao Junfen sat up cross-legged and waited for Ding Yuan Cao to take effect. He felt the secret Yuan Shen. Since the last masterpiece, this guy has been much better lately. Cao Junfen tuned the master Yuan Shen and stayed with that Yuan Shen to let himself slowly assimilate. Then he opened his eyes and stood up. Today, he is so polite to Huang Yiping and also has a purpose. Of course, it is not a despicable purpose, but I want to ask Huang Yiping for a little help. Ms. Yiping, I listened to the music you played last time. It was good for 3 months. I missed it a bit. Cao Junfen stood up and laughed. Is that so? Huang Yiping was flattered and bowed her head. I put the piano in the house, or should I take it? Cao Junfen did not intend to do this, and quickly said, then it is not necessary, we can talk about the sky. Huang Yiping whispered, what is there to talk about? Cao Junfen said suddenly, busy, no, I talk about heaven, not about heaven. Huang Yiping bowed her head and pouted, I talk about heaven and say it's not heaven, I really don't know what you want to talk about. Cao Junfen is going to faint. Humans and beasts are different. This sentence is so difficult to say. But when he scratched his head and tried to explain, Huang Yiping laughed. Fun to play with you. Huang Yiping smiled, blushing. So it is. Cao Junfen also laughed. Suddenly thought in my heart, this girl is also very interesting. The two made a joke, and the relationship was close. Huang Yiping said, Mr. Cao, if you have something to say straight away, even if you want to leave here, Yiping will do everything possible. It turned out that Huang Yiping thought he wanted to escape. Cao Junfen waved his hands and said, "Who says to leave here? There are food and drink, there are bitter medicines, there are flowers, and there are beautiful women, and Cao really refuses to leave." Huang Yiping was teased by his frivolous remarks, suddenly a little embarrassed, and bowed his head. "So why did brother Cao change his attitude to Yiping today?" Cao Junfen nodded and said, "Don't say that, Xiaosheng really has a small favor to ask the girl for help." Huang Yiping said politely, "Please Cao Xiaoshi." Cao Junfen nodded, "In fact, it is not very complicated. There is a copper mirror in the niche storage bag, how to say? Speaking of this copper mirror, it is not a good thing anyway." "That's right." Cao Junfen showed Huang Yiping today for the mirror. The bronze face in the mirror didn't know what it was. This guy was weird, and even ran out of the storage bag, ran into the prohibition at midnight, shouted at Cao Junfen, and tried to continue to control Cao Junfen. Therefore, if Cao Junfen wants to defeat the demon and assimilate another Yuan Shen, he must control the bronze human face. Listening to Cao Junfen's words flashing, Huang Yiping said, "Mr. Cao, you don't want to say anything, you just don't say it, you just have to tell me what to do." Cao Junfen was very satisfied with the answer, and nodded, "Ms. Yiping, I don't want to hide you, in fact, I can't say clearly, all I have to do is to put a trap on the bronze mirror, and then put it down. 8 prohibitions, nothing more." Huang Yiping originally thought that Cao Junfen wanted to escape, but did not expect that it was such a request, and she was not worried about her father's scolding, so she nodded, "This is easy to do, I'll get it for you now." Cao Junfen busily said, "Don't panic. You still need to think long and hard. The demon in the mirror is very cunning, and you must make sure that he is in it. In addition, the trap magic charm is one of my most secret spells, but it is passed down from ancient times. I can't make it right now. I want to teach the girl to help me make it, but the girl must vow not to pass on the method of production and the tricks to others." Huang Yiping did not expect Cao Junfen to trust her so much, but also taught her ancient charms. She was so moved that she quickly nodded. Then, according to Cao Junfen's orders, fetching materials such as amulets, pens, and so on. At the same time, in a hut in a remote corner of Qingxi town, a scene of trance will be staged. Cao Muse was lurking in the deep mountains and swamps for more than half a month outside this time. I don't know how many dangers I have experienced and how much I have suffered. It can be considered that no effort is paid. The miraculous emperor lied, she was really encountered. This emperor's flowing slurry is very special. It is formed by the condensation of a kind of heaven and earth, but can be produced under a special situation. The specific circumstances under which it occurred were not yet known, and because of this, this thing could not be manufactured, and it became very precious. Although the mountain forest was desolate, there were many people looking for Emperor Lu. After Cao Mose went, only one thing happened. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 937. 936 Leaves Waking Up. When he got there, Cao Muse only realized one thing. An important thing. That is, this emperor has a magical nature. It must be contained in the mouth to maintain its activity, and it cannot be touched with anything else. Otherwise, it will become ordinary dew. Others have studied it and said that it is okay to include it in the mouth, it is because of the effect of spit. Therefore, there are generally 2 kinds of people who go to find the emperor. One is to take it by yourself. After you see it, you can swallow it with your mouth. The other is to help others find it. Such people usually bring a small bottle filled with saliva. At that time, you should carefully catch Diliwiu, and do not touch the bottle mouth, and let Diliwiu drown in the spit. Give it back to the person who needs to take it and drink it together with spit. In fact, spit is also a very interesting thing. People eat their own saliva every day, but if you let him spit it out, then eat it. This is not something people do. Anyway, this thing is disgusting. Let Cao Mos spit a bottle of saliva, and then go to give Yekong a drink. Cao Mos cannot do such a BT thing. So Cao Muse had to decide to keep it in his mouth first. After waiting for more than half a month, Cao Muse finally saw Emperor Liujiang, which is a kind of green dew floating in the air. However, this Emperor Liujiang appeared in a bad location, just in a densely populated area, so when Cao Muse swallowed her mouth, the beasts around it were seen, including the Dan period monsters. These monsters were violent in nature. When they saw Cao Muse swallowing the Emperor's slurry, they were all angry and attacked Cao Muse. The unfortunate thing was that Cao Muse had Emperor Liushui in her mouth. During the battle, she couldn't even say a single word of truth, so she had to fight and retreat. This led Emperor Lu to successfully escape from danger and return to Qingxi town. Cao Muse stumbled back home, headed straight to the cabin where Yekong lived. At this moment, Yekong also reached a critical stage, when those blood pupas were about to disappear, but not disappear. Yekong's Yuan drilled out a golden light curtain, but he did not expect that the blood was choked to death and not stiff, and he slammed again. If it is a hard fight, Yemti has 80% chance of winning. But almost 4 months have come down. Yekong was not in a hurry, he simply hid back under the golden light curtain, and waited for those blood to die before coming out. Cao Muse went back to the room and immediately realized that it was wrong. Originally, when the ant sheep was there, she would clean it every day, but now there was a dust on the ground, obviously no one moved for a long time. Cao Muse calmed her heart, hurried into the inner room, and saw Yekong still lying quietly at a glance, then she was relieved. When he came to the crib, looking at Yekong lying down, Cao Mose felt a puppet again. How to feed Yekong to Yekong? Passing by mouth is the best way, but this is the apprentice's sacrifice, and he and his mouth are facing each other. Although Cao Muse had already thought about it, but it was really coming to an end, she felt a little embarrassed. Looking at Yekong's closed lips, Cao Muse's eyes were a little narrow, and suddenly she felt that the shape of the boy's lips was still pretty. Heck, what am I thinking? Cao Muse flushed, scolding herself. After a brief consideration, Cao Muse suppressed the chaotic thoughts in her heart and made up her mind. Jianghu sons and daughters, what shy thing is this? Save people, save people. And, even if you wake up back to Yekong, as long as you don't tell him, then it won't matter. Cao Mose defeated her shyness and slowly lowered her head. When she approached, she felt like a fire on her face, and her heartbeat was clear and audible. She looked around like a thief and took a deep breath. Suddenly, bow your head and kiss. At this moment, the blood sacrifice in Yekong's house was truly dead. His Yuan Shen returned to power and took over the body. All 6 consciousnesses were immediately restored. A scent of fragrant smell passed into his nose, a touch of heat hit his pupil, and there was a thick breathing in his ears. Yekong opened his eyes sharply, and saw that Cao Muse was closing her eyes, her face flushed, and a soft lip was printed. At that moment, Yekong's head buzzed, and he felt blank, and pouted conditionedly to meet him. Wrong. Cao Mose opened her eyes tightly in her heart. The 4 eyes are opposite. Ku. Surprised, Cao Muse swallowed Emperor Lu slurry. Cao Muse's beautiful eyes stared at the boss, and she even had the idea of death. He escaped from the mountain desperately without saying a word on the road, but he was afraid to swallow it. But in the end, I swallowed it. However, does Yekong still care about Emperor Rusht? What he cares about is this kiss. His hands were tangled up like snakes, encircling Cao Mose's waist, his eyes closed, and he kissed the soft petal-like lips boldly, and even arrogantly drilled his tongue past. Cao Muse is a little confused. She seems to be being drenched by a long-lost spring rain, without a little resistance, but only to bear, with a little happiness, with a little need, with a little shyness. She let go of her teeth, let the guy come in, and even twisted her leaves with her clove tongue. I don't know how much time has passed. Cao Muse suddenly felt a numb in her chest, and the boy caught her boldly. She was awake because of it. She was surprised to see that she didn't know when she and Yekong had exchanged their positions. She lay down and Yekong pressed on her. Shyness made her shove open Yekong, and retorted, "You bastard." Yekong also cleared his head and quickly retracted his hands, but his face was full of doubts. "Obviously you secretly kissed me, why did you call me a bastard? I tried my best to go to the mountains to find Emperor Liujiang to save your life. How can you take advantage of me, you asshole? You are shameless, I fight with you, I am your master, you are not human." Cao Muse was both ashamed and angry, hating Yekong and himself. Xiaofen smashed at Yekong facelessly. Cao Muse was originally a gentle and savvy image. How could Yekong look at it like today? However, from the words that Cao Mose kept saying, he probably understood what happened. "You haven't woke up for a few months. I'm dying. In this ghost place, I'm not familiar with life. I have to look for elixir everywhere." The more Cao Muse said, the more aggrieved, she started crying. She's been holding on for too long these days, so she doesn't care about the master's frame and has become a little daughter-in-law who has suffered a lot. Yekong heard her narrate that in addition to her apology, she was also grateful and had an uncontrollable tenderness. Master Yekong stretched out his hand and embraced Cao Muse's soft waist again. Cao Muse was still struggling, but Yekong apologized, but let her give up the resistance. "Sorry for making you wronged." After listening to his apology, Cao Muse felt aggrieved again, and burst into tears on Yekong's shoulder. Yekong didn't have any hesitant thoughts at this moment. He just hugged the woman, patted her on the back, comforted her and said, "Master, let me tell you a story. It is a story that is very popular in our hometown. Name is the story of a sleeping beauty." When Ye finished telling the story, Cao Mose grinned and burst into tears. "Waffle, the princess hit the spell. Of course, it is to find elixir for treatment, or to use the awakened spell. The reason for the curse, unless the prince is a fairy from above." Yekong suddenly felt that the prince among the sleeping beauties was an immortal in the upper world, which was a pioneering act. "Anyway, this is a fairy tale, for children," Yekong replied. Cao Mose said angrily, "Your home is too much. How can you tell such an indecent story to a child?" Our little ones are precocious," Yekong had to say, and then said, "But it's not nonsense, don't you just wake me up with one mouth." Cao Muse suddenly blushed and pushed Yekong to curse, "Dirty embryo, I woke up tomorrow, waiting for me to kiss you, I will never believe you again." Looking at Cao Muse's pretty face, her face was crimson, her eyebrows were resentful, and she was really beautiful like a peach flower. Yekong took her waist again and said in her ear, "I'm sorry, it's a coincidence that I give you. Tell me what happened to that blood." Cao Muse twisted a bit, want to say, speak, what are you holding me for?" But thinking that he was crying and hugging him just now, he had to blush and let him hug and talk. After Yekong talked, Cao Muse realized that he had done bad things with good intentions and raised an apology in his heart, so he also stretched out his arms and hugged Yekong, whispering, "Sorry, I was anxious at the time, then we haven't heard of any kind of blood in Kangnan, so I just gave you medicine indiscriminately. You do blame it as a teacher." "Of course it won't blame." Yekong embraced Cao Muse again and said, "I just don't know what happened to Cao Junfan's kid now." Cao Muse was just stiff when she was held by Yekong. Now she is getting used to it, she has softened down and is lying comfortably on Yekong's chest. When she heard Cao Junfan, she said, "Don't mention the junk thing. If it weren't for him, how could there be these things?" Ye Kong patted on her shoulder said, "Actually, you can't blame Junfan. He dropped the turtle weapon at the last moment, and he has proved that he is a kind and righteous man. At the critical moment, leave the chance of life to others, to face danger and death by yourself. Not everyone can do it. Even if there are so many others, we can't blame him. If you want to blame that bronze face. Let me tell you about the bronze face." While Ye Kong spoke, he also cautiously slid from Cao Muse's shoulder to the semicircular mountain. I don't know if Cao Muse is not there yet, but her blushing blushed. People who depend on each other will always do something unexpected. The two just talked for a long time. Suddenly Cao Muse exclaimed, "Not good." Ye Kong was also surprised, not knowing why she was suddenly surprised. Hearing Cao Muse said, "It may be the relationship that swallowed Emperor's blood," I felt that I was about to break through. "Okay, I'll protect you." The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 938. 9,000 Leader and Sword. Qingxi Town, a remote corner. In the formation method, a picturesque beautiful woman was meditating cross-legged, without grief or joy, and entered the state of entry. At the end of the Dandan period, the time required for each ascent is also increased. Like Cao Mose, it takes half a month for each ascension. But this half a month, compared to Cao Mose's long-term stagnation, it is not a problem. Cao Muse has been on the 8th floor of Jadan for more than 10 years. She had no hope at all, and she has stopped at this stage in her life. But I did not expect that Emperor Liujiang was so magical, and the effect was so strong that she broke through the bottleneck. No wonder so many monsters are looking there. Not half a month, but Ye Kong was worried about Deu. Since the separation of the giant Banyan Demon King, it has been almost 6 months since he saw Deu, and Ye Kong was really worried. What can be depressing is that Cao Muse retreats for half a month, but she has not yet intended to go out. Ye Kong felt that he couldn't be idle, he should always do something. Going to the Black Dragon City in the future is also very dangerous. It is better to take advantage of this time to refine the third flying sword. Kangbei Cold Fire Sword. In fact, the materials of the Kangbei Cold Fire Sword were first gathered. Just because Ye Kong's cold fire is limited, cold fire is often needed to refine materials or to refine elixir. If the cold fire is used as a sword, Ye Kong's cold fire will not survive. But now it's different. Ye Kong has 8 layers of Dan now. The blaze is already very powerful, and all blazes can be used for blazes, so the blaze will never go on. Then you can make flying swords. Outside of Cao Muse's array, Ye Kong arranged another layer of array, then sat cross-legged, raised one hand, and moved his heart. A flaming flame appeared on his palm. Ye Kong used his mind to fine-tune the strength of Danhuo. When it became stable, the other hand was busy playing out a trick. Okay. The flame of fire was floating in front of him, the flame was calm and stable, and the flame was straight, which illuminated Ye Kong's face. Next, Ye Kong took out the material used to make the Fijian sword blank fine iron spirit. This is a gift from the owner of Diagia last time. Taking out the fine iron soul, Ye Kong naturally thought of Xiaoyu, and thinking of Xiaoyu, she thought of the old women who went to the southern capital with Xiaoyu. Presumably, they have all gone back to Yuan Zone from the south, and on my side, the soundwood was not available, and Deu was also lost. Really. Ye Kong shook his head with a sigh, then recovered his mind and continued to practice sword. Sword making is also a time-consuming task. The 2 flying swords in front both took more than 3 months. Although the Kangbei Cold Fire Sword material does not have such a hard material as Wujinziu, all materials must be refined to be usable, which cannot be completed in 3 days or 2 days. But don't forget, Yekong also has a good thing, that is the real water that was snatched from the real water monster Zone Wangzi. Real water, but a good thing for a refiner. Not only can dissolve those hard materials, but also greatly accelerate the degree of purification. Don't. Yekong added a floating trick to the fine iron monster, a storage ring, a porcelain bottle appeared in his hand. Yekong controlled the porcelain bottle and poured real water into the small piece of iron monster. Know it? The real water poured on the iron monster and immediately boiled. Xianxia is not much used, only one drop, but obviously this drop is enough. The sound of zi la is getting louder and the boiling area is getting bigger and bigger. Everywhere he goes, the fine iron monster begins to melt, and the surface keeps rolling out bubbles. Inside these bubbles are the impurities of the iron spirit. Those tiny impurities have been corroded by real water and become a plume of smoke. And those particles with relatively large particles are all brought out to the surface of the liquid by the tumbled bubbles. This real fruit is extremely effective. Yekong nodded with satisfaction and put away the real water. Subsequently, his index finger with both hands popped out, hitting the wind, and knocking the surface of the fine iron monster into a hard scab. Soon, the group of refined iron has become a transparent liquid with silver light. With the removal of impurities, the refined iron has revealed its original color. Moreover, the fine iron monster without impurities, no longer spit out bubbles, but became a quiet liquid, floating in front of Yekong. The next step was refining. Yehalo thought, moved the liquid of the iron spirit above the flame, and refined it with the flame, burning out the shape he wanted. 2 days later, Yekong satisfactorily looked at the sword blank that had been initially formed in Danhuo. According to the truth, the sword blank of the flying sword had reached the moment of success, and the sword blank was in good condition. However, Yekong didn't stop his hand, but continued to use his hands to play out the tricks to modify the shape and size of the sword blank. Because it is a fire-type flying sword, Yekong created another row of fire cloud patterns on the hilt. Although Yediguan always scolds others for being illiterate, in fact, he is also illiterate, and he knows a lot about art, so don't expect him to make any strange and exaggerated flying sword. Of course, he wouldn't even do it. In his words, the weapon is the power. It can kill people. What is so fancy? Don't use this, little girl. Chick, we have special weapons. After the sword blank is refined, the next step is the highlight. Refining cold fire. This cold fire is not so good for refining. Although it is a fire property, it is colder than ice. Refining it takes some twists and turns. The best way is to extract the cold fire for refining. In this way, day after day, more than 10 days passed. This day, the moving beautiful woman's jade finger on her leg in the middle of the formation suddenly moved, and then a pair of beautiful eyes opened. Subsequently, a surprise expression appeared on her white and pretty face. I never thought that Emperor Liujiang was so magical. Not only did it let me break through the bottleneck, but I rose 2 levels at a time. I am also a successful monk and a fake monk, said, be sure to let Yekong also look for Emperor Liujiang, and let him quickly improve. Unconsciously, Yekong's weight in her heart has become heavier and heavier, and now the good thing is that the first person she thought of was not her, but Yekong. Cao Mose raised his hand and slammed his middle finger. She quickly got up, and there was a month of retreat. The boy must be in a hurry. But when she came to the front of her eyes, she suddenly felt a little flustered. Before her retreat, the behavior between the two was obviously a bit unusual. Her first affection in mixed Yuan zone was at the time of her serious injury and weakness. But this time, everyone was sober, how could he tolerate him like that? If it wasn't for the feeling of a breakthrough at that time, I'm afraid that this kid will have further moves. Cao Mu's bright red face was bright and clear, and he was determined not to take any action with him, even if he hugged it. However, her decision seemed powerless. Just after the decision was made, she thought again, if he really asked, let him hug him and satisfy him. But is it enough for someone to hug him? Cao Mose decided to take his mind, and then took down the spirit stone and put away the array. But as soon as the array went, she felt a bitter chill. This scared all the chaos in her heart. In principle, it won't be so cold here. Cao Muse took a closer look. It turned out that in addition to her own formation, there was a layer of formation, and in this layer of formation, it seemed as if it had become a world of ice and snow. There was a bone cold in the air, a thick layer of frost on the ground, and a layer of cold mist floating on the frost. When Cao Muxi's feet moved around, a white cold mist flowed from both sides of her embroidered shoes. The most horrible thing was Yekong, who even formed a layer of ice cover outside his body, as if a transparent oval dome wrapped him. What's wrong? Cao Muse's heart tightened, worried for Yekong. But when she lifted the cold mist and looked closer, she felt relieved. Unexpectedly, this boy is practicing Fijian. But what kind of flying sword is so overbearing? The sword has not been refined. There is such a scene, when the flying sword is successful, that power is not scary to death. What surprised Cao Muse even more was that the mass of things floating in front of Yekong was so special that it was unheard of. That thing looked like a flame, burning. Strangely enough, the flame turned out to be the color of hoarfrost, and the flames spit out from the flames, not the heat, but the bitter cold. This kid has such a magical flame. Cao Muse could not help looking at Yekong curiously. But she just saw Yekong's lips, and she didn't know why. When she saw Yekong's lips, Cao Mose was so dazzled that she gave birth to blossoming peaches. This bad boy is so restless. Cao Muse cursed in her heart and stepped out of the formation. If Yekong knew that he would vomit blood. In the end, who is restless? I made you a sword? Cao Mose stepped out of the formation. At this moment, it was the rare good weather in Xianxia town. The sun was shining and warm. She pushed the door and went out to bathe her delicate body in the sun. It's been so long since I've been out of the sun. Cao Muse stretched a lazy waist lazily, stretched her right hand to the back of her head, and pulled out the golden symbol on her symbol. She shook her head slightly, and it was as long as black. The satin was dripping, and it was simply beautiful. In the sky just a ray of light passed by, and when I saw the beauty, I was immediately attracted by it. There is no flight above Xianxia town, but this person can fly freely, and he is not an ordinary person. This day I was in Xianxia town for the first time. Why have you never met? A man's voice rang from above his head. Cao Muse didn't expect anyone, but the sunlight was a little dazzling. She squinted her eyes and saw a handsome middle-aged man standing in the sky. The magic instrument stepped under the man's feet was actually a book scroll. Men add a lot of elegance. This man doesn't look bad, but Cao Muse doesn't want to cause any trouble, and quickly hugged his fist. This senior, Xiahe Fijun, is a man from the Black Dragon City. He just passed by this town and will leave soon. Cao Muse's meaning was clear. Brother, I have a man. Moreover, we will leave soon, so don't say anything to do nonsense such as tour guides. But the man in the scroll was not discouraged. He lowered his head and smiled. Mrs. Don't be alarmed. The book says that gentlemen are not deprived of people. Although it is a demon repair, it is also familiar with poems, and will not do that. The boring thing about Xianxia, he was just passing by chance. When I saw such a beautiful scenery, I was afraid I might miss it, so this time I dared to ask my wife to make a painting for my wife. I wonder if the wife can answer? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 939. 938 turned out to be an acquaintance. Ah! Painting, Cao Mo's face flushed, and she had thought that this man had moved a crooked idea, but he didn't expect the original people to paint for himself. Seeing that Cao Mo's was a little moved, the man in the scroll took out the flight just now. This is a picture of the beauty drawn in the next few years. I also asked my wife to take a look, to prove that the people below are not Meng Lang, and they are not conceited. The art of painting is beyond the reach of your human artist. Cao Muse took it, opened it, and it turned out that all the women in that scroll were beautiful and very demeanor, slender and nuanced, and the eyebrows were even more vivid, combined with the scenery behind the women. The best paintings make people linger. Cao Muse nodded and smiled. The paintings of the seniors are invincible. The juniors had a lot of skepticism just now. Women like to draw their own beauty on paper, just like the girls on earth like to take art photos. Cao Muse is not exempt, and she really moved her mind at the moment. Looking at that bookman again, it's not like a tadpole. Although there is admiration in his eyes, there is no excessive look. Now that my wife understands, can you let you paint underneath? At this moment, the sun is just right. It's better to make a sun map for a beauty. Cao Mose wanted to agree now, but raised his brows, and suddenly thought of Yekong, thinking that if he knew it, he would have a big taste. She changed her mouth and said, however, this matter must be answered by the younger husband, and he will have to wait until his sword is cleared. Okay, the scroll man didn't say anything, just smiled and nodded. Unexpectedly, as soon as the bookman followed Cao Muse into the room and sat down, a group of demon Jiu surged in, and when he came in, he gave a gift to the man, saying that he was the mayor of the town. Cao Muse did not expect that the man was the mayor of Qingxi town, and nodded in his heart. This person is not a bad person when he knows the gift of the book. It's just that Yekong's kid has a bad temper and a strong taste of vinegar. Will he invite the man to sit in the house? Will he be annoyed? Cao Mose is also strange. Since you are Mr. Yekong's teacher, why bother with jealousy? In fact, she had already accepted Yekong in her heart. While they were talking, suddenly I heard a shaking sword in the inner room. Oh! A crisp sound, just like the sun's rainbow, sounded directly to the clouds. At the same time, a piercing chill exploded. All the people present here gave birth to a chill from the heart, as if an ice cone had penetrated directly into the heart. Protect Lord Mayor, the monster repairs were all nervous. When Cao Muse saw that Yekong Fi's sword was so powerful, he was very happy and laughed. Mopan, this is my husband's success in making a flying sword. The refining instrument successfully produced a vision of heaven and earth. How amazing it is, and I really want to see this Taoist friend. There was a cold hum in the inner room. Is it true to see my friend is fake? Is it true to paint a picture of his wife? When Cao Muse heard it, his heart was funny. The boy really tasted, but it was strange why he felt jealous, and he was very happy. Although the matrix method is isolated, the sound can still pass in, so Yekong can hear it clearly. The man originally wanted to make a painting set, and Yekong was so annoyed that he almost had to destroy the flying sword. So when the Fijian was 10%, Yekong screamed angrily. Hearing Yekong talking inside, the demon Jiu 11 cursed, boy inside, you actually slandered our mayor, be careful of our mayor to kill your head, your treasure, and then draw your soul. Makes you miserable for hundreds of years. Yekong snorted coldly, oh? Ya must see if you have that ability. The man in the scroll did not expect the kid inside to be so unfriendly, and looked up angrily, is there any skill to wait for your visit? But wait for Yekong to come out. Yekong and the man in the scroll were holding back. It's you, both eyes widened. Oh, it's you, both of them suddenly laughed, then went to the middle and hugged. Those demon repairs were dumbfounded, thinking that a big war would be inevitable. I did not expect that the mayor and the other party knew each other, and the relationship was not ordinary. Cao Mose also blinked her eyes, some inexplicably. At first she saw that the man was very high, and still complained that she had come to the door, but she did not expect that Yekong and the other party not only knew each other, but also had an excellent relationship. But, has Yekong been to Heilongchinj before? Why is the mayor here familiar? Brother Huaikui, I didn't expect to see you here. I haven't seen you in almost 30 years. Yekong laughed happily. He didn't expect to encounter Huaikui here, the demon Jiu encountered in the Five Elements formation. Huaikui also laughed openly. I thought that you were a young monk in the gas refining period. I did not expect that now that I have entered the later period of Jidan, and I have developed such a powerful magic weapon, it really makes me think. Yekong laughed. I didn't expect it. The old brother Hui, who had a dog-like appearance in the Snake Hui Valley at the time, now specializes in hooking up other people's wives. Look at what you said. Huaikui took a nasty shot of Yekong, cursing, your boy has nothing to say. I really paint, just pure appreciation. How can you say that? Yekong laughed, and then he brought Cao Mose over and introduced, this is Cao Mose, my younger brother. He pointed to Huaikui and said, this is the elder brother of Huaikui who I once helped. I didn't realize he had this hobby before. Huaikui also laughed. I knew I was the brother's wife. I can't say anything together, haha, but then again, depending on the age outside, my brother and sister seem to be master yet. Cao Muse felt astonished. This told Huaikui, it was really a master. Yekong haha laughed. It doesn't matter that master is okay, it is very popular now. This little boy. Cao Muse nodded quietly on someone's arm. It's the same thing. Huaikui haha laughed. Big brother, I can't do anything with this picture today. Yekong was busy. Work, you must do it. However, you can't do it on your scrolls, but use paper to paint. It doesn't matter if you paint him 10 or 8. Huaikui concludes, brother yeah, are you Huai Mao's coolies who don't want money? Yekong laughed again, you just can enjoy while you draw, but Xiaomi, and another request, is to draw me up. Huaikui stunned, I never painted a man. It's the first time in everything. But, how can there be a man in a beauty portrait? What lady portrait? My name is a wedding photo. What is a wedding photo? Don't worry about anything, as the picture I said is. Huaikui and Yekong knew each other, of course, they could not let Yekong live in that poor place again, and led them back to the mayor's residence. Don't look at all these are demon repairs. One by one, Dongfu built unique caves. The scenery is pleasing. Take some scenery and get a wedding photo. It is really a good idea. Of course, the more important thing is to ask about the situation of the Black Dragon City. By the side of the stream in the middle of Dongfu, two people sitting side by side on a crooked neck tree are Yekong and Cao Muse. Today, they both wore the same color gowns, and they felt like couples. Although Cao Muse was embarrassed, she didn't raise any objections. After all, in her long contact with Yekong, her heart was already a little undulating. She comforted herself that this was just a painting, and that was a big deal. In the future, she would only appreciate the paintings by herself and not take them out. On the opposite side, a drawing board is standing up. Huaikui tilts his legs, stretches his head to look at them, and draws a few strokes on the drawing board. Brother yeah, in the past, paintings were tiled on the table, but with your suggestion, using an artboard to stand up, it was indeed more brisk than in the past, Huaikui said as he painted. Opposite Yekong laughed, this is called a photo, it is to paint a sense of reality. But brother Huai is ink painting after all, so stand upright, and don't dunk too much water. Huaikui nodded, save for your brother. Cao Muse whispered in a low voice, I didn't expect that you wouldn't be able to draw, and you know a lot. Yekong felt that her ear was touched by her head, Ecchi, very comfortable, and she turned her head and smiled. Yeah, you don't know how to be a husband. You just eat and drink lazar and sleep, all with one mouth. Cao Muxi suddenly giggled and said, eating and drinking is not a mouthful, but lazar is also mouthful, haha, maybe you are from your mouth. Cao Muse couldn't say any more, but couldn't help laughing, covering her mouth with a trembling smile. Yekong also heard a voice and said angrily, Hey, master, how can you say such unhygienic words? It's really disrespectful to the teacher. Cao Mose held back a smile, and gave him a sigh, and said, You still know master, you're a husband and you don't know how smooth you are. At this moment, Cao Muse is delicate and coy. It is lively and fragrant. Yekong stretched out his hand to take her royi, rubbing it in his hands, preaching, Do you like my name as master or husband? Cao Muse was speechless for a while, but only allowed him to hold hands and blush, looked at Yekong, and lowered his head. Yekong sighed. A poet once wrote that the tender gentleness that loves you the most is like a water lotus that is so shameless. Cao Muse throbbed in her heart, feeling overwhelmed. She took a sip. What poem? It's just like vernacular. She wanted to escape her little hand from Yekong's hand, but who knew that her hand did not escape, but her body back to Yekong Hui. Hui Kui couldn't see it over there, coughing in two voices, Xianxia's affection, envy others. But this is a wedding photo, and it will become a spring palace picture when you continue. Cut, if you want to draw the kind of picture, I won't let you draw it. Ye then retracted the magic hand, sat upright, and said, Brother Hui, while you draw, tell me, how did you get here from the 5 elements, how did you become the mayor, and what exactly was the Black Dragon City? The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 940. 939 Black Dragon City. Hui Kui looked at him and asked these, while drawing, he said, I really didn't expect that everything in the 5 elements formation was not illusory but real. Yekong was startled. The Snake Locust Valley and the large lake actually existed? Is it in the flood? Hui Kui made a few strokes of Cao Muse's head and laughed. Yeah, you guessed it right, it's all in the flood. Ye Xiangli was pleased that if the levels in the 5 elements array are real, then the channel formed by Ujin is full of moss, and the fire unicorn, oh, big. But another sentence of Hui Kui dispelled his thoughts. Hui Kui also said, but the places are not connected, but the senior stone uses the magical powers and uses the unobtrusive teleportation spell to integrate this place. However, where are those places? I do know. All I know is the Cocoa Valley, and even the water dragon sea next to my Cocoa Valley doesn't know which corner of the floodplain. That was the case. Yekong sighed. I thought I could find that mother dragon and Xiao. Hui Kui laughed. Although I don't know where the water dragon sea is, but I know where the 2 water dragons are, because, once I came out of the Snake Valley, I have seen them, but the mother dragon is proud and the little jade is awkward. Wayward. Hui Kui hummed angrily, I don't want to take their light, so I pretended not to know, and the book says that gentlemen don't bend back for the 5 meters, why should I give them a flattery? Yekong is funny. This Hui Kui is really a dead-headed wooden head. However, Yekong was very happy to get the news of the mother dragon and Xiao. Although Dao never said, Yekong could see that she wanted her mother and sister. Yekong asked again, Brother Hui Kui, where did you meet their mother and daughter? You can see that they seem to be doing well. Hui Kui hummed, of course it is the Black Dragon City. That time I broke into the distraction period. Oh, it is the deification period of your humans. What, Brother Hui, you've reached the deification period, so fast, Yekong interrupted in surprise. Hui Kui laughed, what's wrong with that? The 10 oldest kidnapped me for hundreds of thousands of years and finally gave me this benefit, what else? Yekong nodded. It turned out that the senior Shishi left you a benefit. No wonder it was so fast. I heard that Yuan Ying Zhenjun's transformation into God is very time-consuming. Is it possible to leave spirits like Zhu Shizhou? Huai looked at them again, and then made a few more strokes, saying, "You don't know this. Although the demonization period of the demon repair is the same grade as the human deification period, the actual meaning is different. We demon repair there is no need to be mortal. Our distracting period is to separate the Yuan Shen and refine a Yuan babies like human beings in our body." This time it was Cao Mo's turn. She was surprised. "I only heard that Xiu has Beast Dan and Yao Dan. I have not heard that Xiu also has Yuan Ying. Moreover, Yuan Xiu has Yuan Ying when he is distracted. Is it not a grade lower than humans?" Huai shook his head and said, "The Beast Dan Yao Dan is a low-level demon repair. In the distraction period, you will refine the original baby that is exactly like humans. And if you want to completely abandon the body, you can use that baby going to seize the house of human beings, to take a human body over, then the demon Qiu completely became *human. But it is not good to become *human, and it is very dangerous, so there are not many demons doing this." Huai traced Cao Mo's eyebrows, and then said again, "Although our demon cultivation only refined the original babies, our talents are far from you, so our demon cultivation is not at all your deification period." Cao Muse nodded and said yes. "In Kangnan, there aren't even any monks in Huahua, and there is no demon monk in the decentralized period, so these are so curious to her." Ye Kong said again, "Okay, pull away, go ahead and tell us about Xiao and her mother." "Okay." Huai nodded. "I arrived at the distraction period, and it was considered to be dominated by one party, but at this time I got the news from He Longjinj, saying that I was appointed to be the mayor of Qingxi town. I was furious. This didn't you force me to leave the Snake Valley. So I fought against the dragon and fox who came to order for 3 days." "Dragon Fox," Cao Mos exclaimed. Ye Kong pinched her hand and motioned to her not to interrupt and listen. Huai said, "I started to see the dragon head and fox tail. At first glance, it was just the beginning of the transformation. I didn't care, but who knows, when the fight broke out, this guy also reached the distraction period, and there are magical powers of dragons and magical powers of foxes. Can I be a tree demon who can cope?" After hearing this, Ye Kong and Cao Muse looked at each other nervously. "I did not expect that the dragon fox turned out to be so powerful. During the demon period of demon repair, Dao is not in the middle of transformation, how can he be his opponent?" Ye Kong asked busily, "The dragon and fox at first glance is a monster that hasn't fully transformed yet. How could he be in a distracting period?" Huai sighed, "In the beginning, I thought the same way as you, but later I realized that he can be transformed into a human being long ago. But he thinks that a dragon head can better show his nobility. No one has a head, use a faucet. This guy is also BT." Ye Kong asked again, "Is that foxtail noble, too?" Huai laughed, "It is said that he was born to the owner of the city and a female foxgo. Someone started to blame him, so he just let out the foxtail and let everyone see it, so no one said it." Ye Kong nodded, "This dragon and fox is not afraid of people's words. Anyone can comment that it is a gentleman." Huai nodded, "Indeed." Cao Mos was unwilling, and said angrily, "That guy snatched our soundwood and Dao went after him. I don't know if he is alive or dead now. This man is obviously mean and shameless, bullying, or what gentleman?" "Oh? Have you seen it? What happened? After the war between me and that dragon and fox, I had a friendship, and the relationship was not bad, you said." Ye Kong will briefly explain the process. "No wonder I didn't see Dao. I was taken away by you." Huai suddenly realized and nodded and laughed again. "You don't have to worry about it, haha, it happened to be a coincidence. I couldn't fight Longhu at first, so I had to talk to him go back to the city to meet the Lord and take over as the mayor. Guess who I met in the mayor's house? Cao Mos asked, "Wiln't it be Xiao and her mother?" Huai laughed, "Exactly. Brother, yeah, your lady is really smart." Cao Muse laughed happily, and then guessed, that city owner is a black dragon, and he loves flowers too. Isn't Dao Xiao also his daughter? Huai was surprised this time, and said, "My brother and sister can even guess these things. It really surprises my brother, so I have to have a drink with my brother and sister." Yekong knew that Dao was safe, and she felt loose, joking with a smile, "Brother Huai, you must flatter my wife, brothers and wives are not allowed to play." "You kid," Huai laughed and cursed, "I don't see how tight you are." Yekong laughed, "No way, those of you who are engaged in art are more casual in some aspects." Huai laughed, "Brother Ye is really wonderful. It's really interesting to talk. The words are refined, art, and the art of 6 arts. It's not bad." Although Cao Muse was blushed and blushed by them, but listening to Yekong's fresh words, she could not help looking at the boy again. Unexpectedly, behind this boy's vulgarity, he can often have amazing punchlines. No wonder Wu Yi and Zixian are attracted to him. Yekong did not expect that when he said an art, he would be astounded. He could only sigh that the ancients of the other world had no culture. Huai also said, "So you don't need to worry at all, then Dragon Fox and Dao are still brothers and sisters." But Yekong shook his head and said, "But if this is the case, we have waited for a long time at the giant Banyan Demon King. Why did Dao not come back and tell us that Dao is not the kind of rude person?" Huai was stopped her pen, and groaned, and said, "Maybe it's Dao's mother and daughter meeting have been delayed, and the mother dragon was originally a poor and wealthy guy. 80% of the problem lies with her body." Yekong slowly shook his head. "I don't think things will be so simple. We should go to Heilongchinj as soon as possible." "Oh, what's the situation with the Lord of Heilongchinj?" "The owner of the Black Dragon City is the master of 1,000,000 miles outside the Floodland. He is also the current owner of the ancient Black Dragon family Yan family. His name is Yan Mo. The flowers in the field are beautiful, flowers of all colors are in full bloom, bees are buzzing on the branches, and a pair of men and women walking through the flowers is even more eye-catching. The men are beautiful, the women are sweet, these two are Cao Junfan and Huang Yiping. Together, the two have successfully sealed the bronze face into a bronze mirror. In fact, the main reason for their success was that the bronze human face was paralyzed. The bronze face did not expect the world, there really is something that can seal him. But Cao Junfan's magic seal from Zhongyun Fuzong's ancient times was not comparable to ordinary bands. He actually sealed the bronze face in the mirror. However, even if this is not the case, the bronze face still has a way to escape the mirror one day. Bronze human face is sealed. Cao Junfan can also refining the hidden Yuan Shen with peace of mind. But within a few days of the good day, Huang Yaolong spoke, and asked Cao Junfan to write a letter back to Heilongchinj, asking the Cao family to use the money to redeem people. In fact, Huang Yaolong didn't really want money. He just wanted to find a way to let Cao Junfan get away. He was already annoyed. This kid often lives here, and he doesn't talk about it. The demand for Ding Yuan Cao is increasing. Cao Junfan was addicted to eating. This made Huang Yaolong depressed. This Ding Yuan Cao was brought by Sun Lao, but he always looked for the old one. He was already tired of looking for the old man, and the outgoing notes were not returned. Huang Yaolong had to buy it, but this stuff didn't seem to be easy to buy. Moving west, it was not enough for Cao Junfan for 1 month. He couldn't buy it, and his daughter urged him back. He was really scorched. He doesn't need anything now, as long as Cao Junfan gets out early. But Cao Junfan didn't leave, and didn't write a letter. In other words, he really had nowhere to go, and wrote to Heilongjiang, and he didn't know who he wrote it to. So Cao Junfan stayed in Huaishan village in an almost rogue way. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 941. 940 Lin, an old man. Although Huang Yaolong was upset, there was no way. The daughter wanted to stay with the kid, so he had to pass notes to his fox friends and dog friends to buy dingyuan grass from those guys. However, Cao Junfan's good days didn't last long. Here comes again. It turned out that Huang Yaolong had entrusted the treasure coral to the Black Dragon City. As expected by Yekong, this treasure coral was really appreciated by the city owner, and the new wife of the city owner couldn't help it. Attend a birthday celebration. So Huang Yiping came to Cao Junfan and asked him to go to Heilongjiang together. Cao Junfan doesn't want to go. The key is that he knows Yekong and they will go. If he meets Yekong, he feels that he has no face to see his friends. But there is no way to go. He ate Dingyu and Cao, without Jiu Wei, those little demon Jiu could kill him. He must also follow the father and daughter of the Huang family, so that there is protection. A demon repairer who wanted to kill himself and grab a treasure, now he has become his protector. Cao Junfan felt a bit outrageous, it was just like telling a story. But speaking, reality is generally more outrageous than stories. Cao Junfan nodded and said, Yan Mo, it sounds very imposing. He really is a great success in the Mahayana period. Has he practiced mysteries to resist the calamity? Huang Yiping looked at Cao Junfan blankly and asked, where have you heard of this? We don't know. The city owner entered the middle of the Mahayana 800 years ago. Cao Junfan fainted. But I heard the King Banyan Demon King said that the Lord of the Black Dragon City had already reached the Mahayana period early, and because of some things he didn't want to fly, that's why he practiced secret skills to fight against the calamity. Huang Yiping laughed, hearing hearsay, there is nothing. Whether it is human beings or monsters, ascension to immortality is a lifelong pursuit, even the city owner Yan Mo is no exception. Do you say he will not ascend because of something? Is it important to take off? Cao Junfan thinks about it too. Is there any more important thing in the world than to become a and enjoy eternal life? Well, I'll take a look at Black Dragon City with you. Cao Junfan also nodded. Cao Junfan and Wang's father and daughter went to Heilongjiang together, of course, to the teleportation team in Qingxi town. But Yekong had already gone to Heilongjiang a few days earlier, so they didn't meet. It must be said that during the teleportation of Yekong from Qingxi town to Heilongjiang, they even encountered a dangerous situation. That morning, out of line, Huaikui handed Yekong a jade card and said, Brother Xian, this is a letter to Dragon Fox. He should give you some help. My brother can only help you so much. Yekong nodded to take over, this Huaikui is still good. Yekong patted Huaikui and said, so big brother, I'm leaving, oh, and the 3 bandit leopards outside the town are too arrogant. You, the governor of the town, should be in charge. Huaikui laughed, if the demon repairs in the early stages of the 3 transformations were not for the younger brother to leave, they would arrest them for their sins at this moment. At this time, the teleportation array has been opened. Because the teleportation distance is relatively long, this is a large teleportation array. The circular array method is similar to the altar. A circle of instant jade is inserted around the circle array. A pillar-shaped array of eyes was set up in each direction, and a huge top-quality spirit stone was placed on each array of eyes. As soon as the formation method started, look at a circle of transparent runes outside the teleportation array. Those runes are the size of a palm, and they circle around the teleportation array to form a mysterious mask. The teleportation array is already running. Are the 2 seniors entering now or waiting for the next batch? The 2 base-building monsters stepped up and asked respectfully. Just this batch. Yekong nodded, and Cao Muse took the teleporter handed over by the demon repairer. But when Cao Muse came into the teleportation array, Yekong seemed to remember something, and he asked, "Brother Huai, are you just portraits of those beautiful women?" Huai Kuei smiled and cursed, "You stinky boy, of course I seduce it. By the way, if there are some other contacts after the drawing is better." Yekong couldn't help but sigh, sure enough, the crows in the world are generally black. Yekong walked into the teleportation array, and saw that there were already several demon repairs inside. These demon repairs were, without exception, repairs over the Huaiden period, with waist cards hanging on their waists. In the field of Black Dragon City, adults who have not reached the Pandandalian period do not even have the right to walk around. Among several demon repairs, the highest one is a young-looking young demon repair. This person has been fully transformed and dressed in luxurious clothes. At first glance, it is the highest one here, at least in the middle of the transformation. Cao Muse, who went in advanced, did not want to be involved with these monsters. She stood quietly and Yekong walked in. Now the blue-faced monster is looking at herself. Yekong smiled slightly at him and stood beside Cao Muse. Although Yekong is only in the late period of Dandan, his magical powers are not comparable to Dandan ancestors, and he has just made a third flying sword. He is trying to find someone to test the sword. If anyone doesn't have long eyes, he just happens to have test the sword. Seeing that the teleportation array was about to run, but suddenly there was an old man in sackcloth rushing outside. This old man had a dark complexion, was tall, and had a thick black beard on his chin. However, cultivation is not high, that is, cultivation in the middle of Huaiden. "Stop, show your waist card," the Tsukiji demon who guarded the teleportation array welcomed him. In fact, the other party is already a predecessor of Huaiden. Generally speaking, even if you do not have a waist card, you can be accommodating. But the mayor is here today, and the guard has to say everything justice. Unexpectedly, the old man in sackcloth snorted and yelled. The old man never showed his waist card after teleportation. "Blind your dog's eyes." The guard demon Jiu suddenly became furious and yelled, "Hugh was too pretentious. The predecessors in the late stage of transformation just showed their waist cards. Do you want to make exceptions when you change the time?" The elder Mai sneered coldly, essentially, if the old man is busy at this time, kill you and see if you want to be a waistband. Huai Kuei watched his humiliation, and immediately went up, and said coldly, "This Taoist, it is a rule of Heilongqing to show the waist card. If you do not show it, we have the right not to let you teleport." The old man in linen saw that the other party was a senior in the distracting period, but he did not even see any change. However, his eyes flashed, and he finally raised his hand and took out his waistband. Seeing him showing his waist card, Huai Kuei raised his hand to let him in. The building demon Jiu thought that he had won, and shouted behind him, "Hey, there is also a spirit stone, not to teleport." Dang, a crisp sound, a Zongpan spirit stone was dropped from the teleportation array. Teleporting the 20 spirit stones, the old man even lost 100 pieces at a time, which made the building demon Jiu 11 can't help but feel proud. Huh, it was so fierce just now, and finally it was softened, so much more, really stupid. Then the teleportation array was highlighted, the runes outside the array plus rotation, a white light flashed, and all the people in the array disappeared. When the people in the array disappeared, the demon repair guard remembered one thing and said busily, "No, the old man is too hurry, I forgot to give him the teleporter." Huai Kuei snorted, "He doesn't know whether he lives or not, who can blame him?" Huai Kuei was ready to go back after speaking, but as soon as he turned his head, he heard the guard shouting, "No, what about my storage bag?" At the same time, a Huaiden monster Xiu shouted, "Not good, my waistband. I just said that the waistband in the old man's hand was so familiar, It turned out to be my stolen waistband. Huai suddenly calmed down. As he is already in the early stage of distraction, he didn't even feel when the old man shot. This old man is not an ordinary person. I hope they won't conflict with this old man. Huai thought of the empty teleportation array. Qingxi town is hundreds of thousands of miles away from Heilongjiang, so it is not that fast to teleport. Yekong, they seem to have come to a closed black space, and they seem to have come to Kangming. There was a little starlight in the distance, as if they were traveling in space. Yekong looked at the old man in my clothing, and he couldn't help it. Although he didn't see the old man take a shot, he could feel a very dangerous breath in the old man. The highest cultivation here is the green-faced young demon repair, but Yekong didn't feel the fear from him at all, but the old man had it. Yekong could not help but take Cao Muse back a half step, leaving the old man in my. The old man in linen looked back at Yekong, snorted in his nose, and turned his head again. And that green-faced young demon repair turned out to be sensitive. Watching the old man in linen look over, he took a half step back calmly. Seeing that everyone was afraid of him, the old man in linen was still very satisfied and stood in the middle with a big grin and took out the storage bag that had just been stolen from the guard's waist. There is nothing else in the storage bag, except the teleporter is the spirit stone. Obviously, the old man in sackcloth didn't take the teleporter seriously. He just put the spirit stones into his own storage bag, and then threw the storage bag. The old man didn't even want to send a charm. Cao Muse passed on the sound to Yekong with surprise. You should know that this kind of long-distance transmission is likely to encounter space turbulence. If it does happen, the transmission symbol will have some defensive effect. However, no one knows the real effect. I heard that the real terrible space turbulence has only a dead end with teleporters. Yekong also quickly whispered, "Be careful, the old man is not an ordinary demon Jiu. I feel that he has a very dangerous momentum, probably because he deliberately lowered Xiu Wei. This feeling is only perpetuated by licking blood on the blade of a knife. Cao Mo's is high, but the combat experience is far worse than Yekong, so she can't feel it at all." Hearing Yekong's voice, Cao Muse's eyes tightened, and she looked at the old man's back again, her heart stunned. She knew that people like Yekong who were not afraid of the sky felt the terribleness of the other person, and the old man was really terrified. It is unfortunate to say that good things happen, but bad things happen very well. Everyone muttered that when the old man didn't use the teleportation sign, he heard a loud noise bang above his head. The black inner wall of the teleportation array seemed to be hit by something, and a shocking depression appeared. Those knowledgeable in the demon cultivation, exclaimed loudly, "Not good, it is a turbulent space." Why so unlucky, actually encountered a turbulent space. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 942. In fact, the truth of the teleportation array is to open up a space, which is a bit like a black hole, connecting the two locations. The turbulence in space is the debris flow in space, just like a meteorite group. If the small space is turbulent, the inner wall of the transmission space cannot be broken, which means that there is no danger. But if the large space is turbulent, then it is troublesome. Maybe it will smash the teleportation space and teleport the people into the unknown universe. Or even more severe space debris, flattening the transmission space directly. Faced with this turbulent flow of space, there is only a dead end for the people inside. I heard that there was a turbulent flow in the space, and the people in the transmission space suddenly panicked. Some people are swearing, why are they so unlucky today? They actually encountered a mess of space. There is also a silent prayer that the turbulence of space will pass early. As long as you wait for a while, everyone will teleport to the Black Dragon City, and it will be fine. What to do? Cao Mu Sime's eyes flashed with panic. Yekong said, "Don't be afraid, let's take a look first." In fact, Yekong has not encountered any turbulence in space, but he doesn't think he will be so unlucky. He died in a turbulence inexplicably. He was a little disbelieving that he was doing this. But apparently, his luck this time really came home. Boom! There was another loud noise, and another side of the transmission space was hit by something again, and an amazing big depression appeared again. Boom! Boom boom! Horrible impact sounds continue to be heard outside the transmission space, one after the other, louder than loud. The most frightening thing is that the impact outside is not an irregular impact, but it is very accurate against several. This depression hits as if someone is in control and wants to smash through the transmission space and break into it. This is. One demon Jiu was terrified. He pressed the teleporter and trembled and asked the green-faced young demon Jiu, "Senior, you see? That green-faced young demon repair is the highest one here," so everyone's eyes are on him, expecting him to come forward and come up with an idea. However, the blue-faced demon Jiu obviously didn't know how to deal with it. His face turned greener, and he smiled bitterly. "Although I have traveled north and south, I have seen a lot of things, but I have not encountered any turbulence in space." Everyone was disappointed. At this time, there was a loud noise, hitting the depression that appeared initially. It can be seen that the inner wall is already a bit unbearable, and 1 or 2 times it will be broken. "What to do?" Cao Mos asked in amazement. "Good teleporter," Yekong snorted coldly and hugged Cao Muse tightly. At the moment when everyone was panicking, the old man in linen standing in the middle said, "If the space of medium or below is turbulent, you can spend it safely on the teleporter. If it is relatively large, you can add several teleporters, it's okay." When everyone entered the battle, they all brought only one teleporter. How many? But none of them were fools, and they immediately remembered the storage bag that the old sackclother had just thrown away. No one issued an order, but all rushed to the storage bag, trying to their hands and get a chance to save their lives. The teleportation symbols are stored in storage bags. No one knows how many of them are inside, and everyone is panicked, so they all rob, so the teleportation space is messed up. However, Yekong did not move. Cao Muse said, "Should we grab some?" Yekong shook his head. He didn't grab it because he felt that the old man hadn't finished speaking. And if this old man is really useful, why not himself? So Yekong decided to wait again. If multiple teleporters are really effective, he will not be polite to kill a few monsters. Like Yekong, the blue-faced demon repair did not shoot, but his eyes remained intact. His eyes were full of murder. "Sure enough," the old man said again, "if you don't have too many teleporters, you can take out the strongest defense weapon or magic weapon for a while." Boom! Gravity hits the depression again, and you can see that the depression has cracks. I am afraid that if there is another blow, the transmission space will be penetrated. At this moment, no one has considered whether the old man said it is true. On the side of the teleportation space, the battle between several monsters has become fierce, and they even spit out magic weapons or monsters, ready to die. And those who know that they can't snatch, or have powerful magic weapons in their own hands, have sacrificed their magic weapons. But Yekong still didn't move. Because he felt that the old man's words were not finished. This time, Cao Muse was really a little panicked, and her heart said that Yekong was too old and stable. After another time, the transmission space was broken. Indeed, the old man has not finished speaking. He listened and laughed again. "The situation I just talked about is the turbulence of space. Now, it is not necessary. Because this is not a turbulence of space." Those competing Xiu stopped and looked at the old Mai with a stunned look. The old Mai snorted coldly and said, "If the space is turbulent, how can you hit each place in one place?" The old man's words stunned everyone, and he listened to the old man and said, "This is the attack of the space beast. So all teleporters, defense tools, are not useful. The more you use, the faster you die." Ah! Space beast. At this panic moment, each demon Jiu was already faint. How could there be time to consider the truth of the old man's statement, and no one knew what the space beast was? The demon repairers who robbed the storage bags just now seemed to be bitten by snakes, and quickly threw the storage bags in their hands to others. And those who sacrificed defensive implements all hurriedly withdrew the implements. However, at this time, it was a bit late. Boom, the inner wall of the teleportation space couldn't hold it anymore, and was hit by this heavy hammer, and it suddenly cracked like a cobweb. Through the shocking rift, you can see the black holes outside, empty. There are no space beasts. Those who wanted to put away the defensive weapon had doubts about the old man's words, and they hesitated again. But hesitating, it's about to die. Ah! Don't! A demon repairer with two huge shields seemed to be caught by something and dragged out of the transmission space stiffly. The demon repairs were panicked, and all retreated to the corner, afraid that they would die next. Just listen to the old man said, "The space beast is good at using space spells. It is invisible and colorless. It is a space. You can't perceive it. It can appear anywhere at any time, and it is invincible. Moreover, it hates others to carry teleporters." Followed by the defensive weapon, "So the more you top, the faster you will die." Ah! Despair looked in everyone's eyes. If, as the old Mai said, this space beast is so mysterious and invincible, then all the people present are hard to escape. Everyone's shock has not yet settled, and another scream of heartbreaking sounded around the crowd. Ah no! This time it was attacked by a pandan armor monster who was wearing a pangolin's head. This guy was also flexible. When he was pulled out of the crack, a long tail flexed out flexibly behind him. Oh, the long tail caught the crack in the crack, and pulled the pangolin stiffly. There was an inexplicable roar of the demon Jiu from the gap, "Don't kill me. We have no injustice and revenge, it is not easy for me to practice a pangolin in the mountain, ah! No, no, Taoist, help." Oh, a muffled sound and the pangolin's cry stopped. The crowd went to look at the crack again in horror, and saw a solitary hanging tail of the pangolin in the crack. The other end of the tail was dripping with blood, apparently pulled by the space beast with great force. Although the pangolin is not a powerful monster, it is also a monster with a good defense, especially his tail, which is amazing in strength, but now it is broken by the space beast. How powerful this space beast is! The monsters in the teleportation space have changed from fear to despair. In such an isolated and helpless place, is there any way to survive such an invisible and intangible yet so powerful opponent? The demons are all ashamed. You look at me, I look at you, they are praying that the next one is not themselves. At this time, there were only two people who were not desperate, one was the blue-faced demon repair, and the other was Yekong. They all looked at the old man in linen who was standing in the middle. But to this day, the person still has no face, obviously this person must have a way. Qing Nian Yaoxiu said, "This senior is so aware of this thing, and I must have a way to spend it. Everyone has a chance to meet here, so let the seniors arrange and tell me how to do it." The green-faced demon Xiu opened his mouth, the other Huaden period demon Xiu, nodded, and looked at the old Mai with hope in his eyes. Unexpectedly, the old man in my clothes even said, "Yes, I can save you." The people haven't had time to be happy, and the old man said, "But why should I save you? What does your life have to do with your husband? The world is cold and people's hearts are like a knife. It is better to save one person than to kill one person." The old man once vowed that he will not save another person in this life. Even the old man will ignore it. Everyone fainted, and did not expect that this turned out to be this virtue. But there are smart people too. The blue-faced demon Jiu in the late transformation suddenly laughed again and hugged his fist. Listening to my predecessors, I swear that I will not save people in this life, but I am not a human, but a demon. Those demon repairs nodded and said, except for Yekong and Cao Muse, everyone is a demon, 2 humans. Just die. Unexpectedly, the old man in my clothing sneered, demons are worse than people. Fellows are worse than foreigners. Their own brothers are worse than enemies. Green-faced tiger demon, don't you want to play any word game? In short, the old man doesn't will save you. The teleportation space suddenly quieted down. I don't know what the old man was stimulated and said a lot of messy things, but he was determined not to save people, and everyone still heard clearly. Several demon repairs looked up to see the blue-faced demon repair. After all, he was already in the late stages of transformation, counting on him to use force to force the old man to save everyone. But the blue-faced demon Jiu smiled and shook his head. At first glance, they saw that they were the blue-faced tiger's own body, and it was obvious that Jiu was much better than himself. Force him by yourself? Still want to die faster? Ah, at that moment, another scream, and another demon Jiu with a terrified roar, was dragged out of the crack by the space beast that had no trace. The other 3 demon repairers were stunned, hesitated for a moment, and rushed to the old man in sackcloth, crying and crying, Senior, save us, as long as we let us live, we will give the seniors cattle and horses, and send out blood oath, seniors let us die, we die. Before the 3 demon repairs finished, they listened to the old Mai cursing, then you are all dead. He said, raising his feet, flinging his legs 3 times, and kicking the 3 monsters out of the crack. At this moment, there are 4 more people in the teleportation space. The old man in linen, green-faced demon Jiu, Yekong, and Cao Mose. The old man in linen kicked away the 3 demon Jiu, but looked back at Yekong and asked, human monk, aren't you afraid of death? Why not ask me? No, I'm afraid of death. Yekong smiled slightly and shook his head. But I won't beg you, because according to me, you have been stimulated in the early years, and now you have BT in your heart. Please BT people like you, 8, I might as well ask myself. The old man in my clothing had a calm face, suddenly exasperated, cramped his teeth, and gritted his teeth. Shuzi, can you understand what the old man has suffered? BT, if you have experienced it, you are BT better than me. Yekong asked, but did we mess with you? If you are willing to save, just save it. If you don't want to save, just leave it alone. What do we ask you to do? The old man in linen laughed, looked at Yekong and Cao Mose, then pointed to Cao Mose, and said, women, stand by me, I will take you to Heilongchange. Cao Muse was stunned, but did not expect to talk about her head. Looking at her bun, the old Mai laughed and laughed, you are not the same age as you. You see him repairing. The old Mai looked at Yekong and said, although divine consciousness and supernatural power far surpass the same period, but I told you that these cannot protect you. And as long as you follow the husband will naturally keep you safe. Life and death lie in the front line, life or death. This old man's magical powers are amazing. You can see Yekong's supernatural powers and magical powers at a glance. Cao Muse also believes that he didn't lie, but, standing by the old man's life. Of course not. Cao Muse did the same. She simply stood in front of Yekong, raised her head, faced Yekong, and said, Yekong, don't you want to kiss master? Since this crisis can't be overcome, better let us fall with a smile. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 943. 92 Black-faced old man. At the critical moment, at this moment of life and death, Cao Muse let out all the worries in her happiness and offered her kiss. Show, no wind automatically. Only then did Yekong know that Cao Muse was also interested in himself, but only because of his identity. However, I did not expect that the crisis at this moment actually catalyzed Cao Muse's words. Master. Yekong made a voice, and then lowered his head and caught the two petal-like tender lips. At this moment, there is no crisis, no life and death, no space beasts, no apprentices, no other people, everything around me seems to go away instantly. At this moment, only this couple of men and women forgot to kiss. They. The green-faced tiger demon's eyes widened. He really didn't understand. At such a life-threatening moment, why didn't the two think of helping themselves, but kissed fiercely? Isn't this the same form of work, said the green-faced tiger demon Nana. And the vicious black-faced old man saw this scene, his eyes flickered, and he didn't know what memories he thought of. Also, although the old man never saves people, but the old man dislikes the space beast, let the old man kill him. The black-faced old man who was not able to save people just now shows his conscience and found himself a rescuer excuse. Boom, the black-faced old man raised his hand without warning, and a group of hot flames came out. The group of fire shots, and among them there was a faint dragon-like appearance. Boom. The fire slammed into an open space in the corner of the teleportation space, making a loud roar. The blue-faced tiger demon was not far from there, and he was so frightened to take a few steps back. Looking at that space, it turned out to be blazing, and in the middle of the flame, there was a gap like a bear and a human. I really don't know that there are objects there. The blue-faced tiger demon's fright is undecided, and he breathes a sigh of relief. If the old man didn't take the shot, he would have been dragged out at the moment. So this is the space beast. The blue-faced tiger demon watched as the bear man was already tumbling on the ground. He relaxed. However, the old man shook his head and said, "No, that's just a space look that it has figured out. The real space beast, you can't imagine." "I can't imagine," the blue-faced tiger demon was startled. "It must be very fierce and overbearing, powerful." "Stupid," the black-faced old man cursed and said, "you'll understand after a while." The black-faced old man suddenly shot again without warning. This time, a fierce fire was set off in another direction. In the fire, a tiger demon faintly. The blue-faced tiger stunned. "How many space beasts there are? But how does that look like me?" The black-faced old man said, "It's still the space beast just now. He changed a space. This space may imitate your appearance." The green-faced tiger demon went to see the location of the bear man just now, and now the fire there has gone out. It seems that the space beast has indeed fled. The green-faced tiger demon sighed. "This space beast is invisible, and it is really impossible to prevent it, unless the seniors are saved." "Old man doesn't save people. Unless he hates these space beasts, he will never shoot," the black-faced old man interrupted with a drink. The green-faced tiger demon was so frightened that he clenched his fist, knowing that the predecessor is not a life-saving person, but a hateful space beast. After he said it, Yekong's lips were not separated, and Yekong still put his hand on Cao Muse. "The back of the brain is personally flavorful." The green-faced tiger demon angered, "The two guys, now the seniors are trying to save, no, killing the demon. You don't want to help, and you also do such destructive things." The dark-faced old man first scolded, "Whoever is not young does not do too extraordinary things when he is young, then he cannot be said to be young." When Cao Muse heard them talking there, he was embarrassed to kiss Yekong again, and Yekong only let go of his mouth. "Thank." Cao Muse didn't export her gratitude, but was taken by Yekong. The predecessor was really a high master, and he was as evil as hatred. He can be called a model for studying next. Yekong did not say anything like thank the old man for his life. The dark-faced old man snorted coldly, "Boy, you were so horizontal just now, but you are still embarrassed to slap the old man? Huh, if the old man faintly feels a familiar atmosphere from you, and the girl is so firm, otherwise the old man wouldn't shoot. While they were talking, the figure wrapped by the fire had also been burned. Sin beast, I want to escape at this time, there is no way, the black-faced old man drank aloud, and the voice seemed to have extremely powerful power. What a powerful sound attack, Yekong only felt his head humming, the whole world was completely quiet, and nothing was heard. Beside, Cao Muse and the blue-faced tiger demon are in the same situation. However, in the silence, a finger-sized thing suddenly fell out of the air. The crowd looked at it with astonishment, and the thing the size of their finger was actually a slightly larger caterpillar. The caterpillar turned to look at the crowd, frightened, and ran away with a bow. No. The space beast is this thing. Now that blue-faced tiger demon knows what it is impossible to imagine, and it is really impossible to imagine, who would think that such a magical and fierce space beast is actually this little thing? What space beast is this beast? Everyone stayed, and the caterpillar was about to crawl out, and the dark-faced old man sneered, "What are you doing? Want to let it escape?" The blue-faced tiger demon reacted first, rushed forward, stepped on the space beast, and cursed in his mouth, "I can't think of it as your little thing. It's a jerk. It hurts me how many demon brothers I must catch you, and draw souls and souls in the future, and make you miserable for thousands of years." After the blue-faced tiger demon said it, he took out a porcelain bottle joyfully, put the space beast in it, and then put a spell on it, and then closed the porcelain bottle without anybody else. Although this guy was very imposing, he seemed to avenge other monsters. But all the people who are sighted are present, who wouldn't see his thoughts? This space beast is so powerful. If it is caught and raised to feed the Lord, wow, it will be big. This is a killer that kills more goods and sneaks up on high-level monks. The blue-faced tiger demon's heart was so beautiful that he blossomed. Is everyone else stupid? Obviously not. The reactivity of the round, Yekong is more than twice as fast as this green-faced tiger. If you want to be the first, Yekong can definitely get this caterpillar in advance. But Yekong didn't move. Because he has seen it, this black-faced old man is not a good thing either. What he is best at is that half of it is half, so that you will never know that you are dead. If it's really a good thing, would the dark-faced old man not want it? Will he remind others to get it? Is he such a good guy? The green-faced tiger demon put away the space beast, and the fart turned upside down, and flattered, "Senior, what else can I do for you?" "No, stand on your side and stay away from me," the black-faced old man grunted coldly, and then walked to the crack in the teleportation space. "Hey," the dark-faced old man pushed hard and pushed the cracked gap back, waiting for the corners to be flat. At this moment, he raised his hand again. I saw the old man's arm as if it had been burned by the fire, red, and the clothes on that arm were steamed to ashes instantly. Ang, there was a faint dragon whisper on the old man's arm, and a black dragon appeared on the hot red-hot arm. Slap, the old man spit out a flame, and the flame hit the crack, and then the fire spread instantly, and in a blink, the crack was repaired. Looking at the old man's amazing powers, Yekong and others were secretly shocked. You know, the outer wall of this teleportation space is definitely not an ordinary treasure. This transmission space is formed naturally by the heavens and the earth, and its material is unknown to anyone, but it is certain that its hardness is no less than that of Wujinziu. If Yekong refined it with Danhuo, it would not melt a small piece in a month, and the black-faced old man could melt it all in a blink of an eye. Yekong was surprised to see him repairing. The blue-faced tiger demon was deterred by the black dragon. "Yans," the blue-faced tiger demon exclaimed. When the old man heard him say that, he turned back, and there was a hint of murder in his eyes. But I don't know why, he still suppressed it, and snorted coldly, "If I extend the house in front of me, I will draw your soul and refine your soul, and it will be difficult for you to die." The green-faced tiger demon knelt down in a panic, hoeing his head, dare not dare, do not dare down. Come up, the dark-faced old man snorted coldly, but obviously the old guy was still very upset and scolded Yekong again. Hey, you are still masters and apprentices, how can you do this kind of thing, really unpopular, human not as good as a beast. Cao Mo suddenly flushed, and wished to dig a pit to bury herself. But she wondered, she and Yekong both use the voice, how can this old man know? But Yekong was very clear. At that time, he and Huang Shishi transmitted voices, and they were overheard by the old demon of Luffy. It has been confirmed that 3 levels higher than the other party can overhear others' transmissions. Is this black-faced old man actually a 1-level demon repair with Luffy? Obviously this old man is a very powerful existence. But even so, Yekong couldn't let Cao Muse be satirized like this, but he couldn't beat the old man. Yekong has never been a fool. Yeah, it's true that the old people are not old, and the seniors are so high-end, but they didn't expect to be used to eavesdrop on the love of others. It seems right that the seniors are really psychological BT. The black-faced old man suddenly became furious, and raised his fist, and said, "Boy, I don't think the old man dare to kill you." His words came out, his burly body had risen a bit, and his realm had been raised several times, and the powerful and courageous spirit spread out. The black-faced old man has already moved his heart. He was not a good man, but if Yekong had such a weak sense of familiarity, he would have killed this daring man. He repeatedly challenged his temper, so at this moment, he really moved his heart.